And joining us in studio now is PFF salary cap analyst Brad Spielberger. And underneath that resume line is former Vikings legal intern. Welcome back somewhat into Minnesota.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be back. And I missed the TCO Center and the lunch there every day.
I know. It's one of the many, many perks, isn't it? He wore the purple and gold LSU as a nod to Justin Jefferson. So we've got all types of connections going on over here, Brad. But mainly, I think when you were here, there was a different leadership in the front office. And now, obviously, with this new regime in, you have General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah entering his second offseason. How have you felt he attacks these type of salary cap issues or situations now that you've seen him kind of at work for 2 seasons?
Yeah, I think it's been a smart and sound approach, particularly this offseason. Look, you got to get younger. You did try to go all in a little bit last year and get one last ride for a bunch of great longtime Vikings veterans, but now you had to take some of those lumps and take some tough hits. I'm sure they didn't want to cut Adam Thielen and make some of those tough moves, but I think at a certain point you do have to do it. Him and Eric Kendricks been pillars of the franchise for a very long time. You had to do it, and I think you saw with Harrison Smith, a guy that loves the building. They love him. Agreeing to a pay cut to stick around, I think just shows kind of the culture that is built there, even between 2 different regimes, just how much the building has foundationally established a good culture. And then, of course, last but not least, the restructure of Kirk Cousins' contract, shifting a whole chunk of money into the future to be able to create more flexibility and bring in some key guys like a Byron Murphy, like a Marcus Davenport. I think it's been a good offseason so far for Minnesota.
Okay, that's good news. That's good news. When we hear, restructure, it's such a word I think that's thrown around in the league so often. When you look at Harrison's restructure and Kirk's restructure, what are the differences there?
Yeah, so Harrison's is him truly agreeing to take less money. It's not just moving cap numbers around, but actually changing the cash outlay in the current year. The more popular, colloquial term of restructure really is different cash payments hit the salary cap differently, right? So a signing bonus or a prorated bonus, you can spread that money over up to 5 years, whereas, salary or what we call a roster bonus would all hit in a single year. So for Kirk Cousins, for example, had a $20 million roster bonus owed in 2023. All of that would have counted on the 2023 salary cap. What the Vikings did, they take that, they convert it into a signing bonus. They also tack on 2 void years, which I'm sure we can get into a little bit as well. And they clear $16 million in salary cap space in 2023 because you divide that 20 by 5 and you push 16 of the 20 out into the future.
Okay, no, that's breaking it down for someone who doesn't love to crunch numbers. So I love that, but you did mention another hot word that I think that we've been hearing a little bit about, and it's the void years. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, there is a max of 5 years you can spread money over. If you have 5 real years on a contract, you can, of course, just do that. But if you don't have those players under contract for those years, you can add what are called void years. They're basically just dummy contract years. The player is not actually under contract in that season, but you can still push these cap hits out into them. So Kirk Cousins added 2 more, already had 2 to begin with, to get that maximum 5. And that just helps them clear as much space as humanly possible to bring in some reinforcements to play along with Kirk.
What do you think moves like that, using all of these, it kind of feels like a Tetris game in a sense. What do you think that says about the front office, Rob Brzezinski, Kwesi, and everyone behind that side of things?
I think first it says, look, when they probably hear the words rebuild and stuff like that, and they say, no, it's more of a competitive retooling, they're not lying, right? They're trying to still be able to add talent, honestly, get younger at a lot of key spots. And so I think that's what it shows, right? You do want to, not go crazy with it, but still, if you're trying to bring in a really good young edge rusher, our highest ranked edge rusher free agent in Marcus Davenport, one of our highest ranked cornerbacks in Byron Murphy, you got to move money around a little bit. So yes, they are very smart. Rob's done a great job for a very long time, really digging into the CBA and finding different ways to do this. And he, once again did that this offseason, again, without kind of hemorrhaging your future, but still allowing you to add talent in this offseason.
And obviously there are several pieces to still play throughout the entire league. How do you feel the Vikings have positioned themselves in the free agency market as far as the cap space available and as we enter into, right now we're 1 month away from the draft?
Yeah, so the interesting thing, too, is they haven't touched a bunch of contracts where they could clear a bunch more space. Brian O'Neill, the right tackle, if they wanted to restructure him, could clear a large amount of money, and there are a couple other players available. So, for me, I think a guy like DJ Chark, I guess hearkening back to my LSU shirt here, I think is a very interesting player. Did cross over with Justin Jefferson for one season in college. A 6'4" guy that ran a 4.34 40. You don't find that very often. A guy that can take the top off of defense, and I think would be a perfect fit opposite Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson, who, good route runners, can create space underneath and make guys miss in the open field. And then you have Chark creating that room. So they would have to do a couple more restructures, I think, to make a bigger splash signing. But those levers are available to pull. And there are a couple interesting names left out there.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't just know salary cap space, guys. He is analyzing the players themselves. Thank you so much, Brad Spielberger, for being with us here today on Vikings.com. We appreciate you can go check out his work at ProFootballFocus.com. And I mean, gotta love the LSU and Viking connections that you have. So we really appreciate you, Brad.